Hello and welcome in. Mark here, aka the Markster. This is video number 8 in the FreeCAD series. Today we're using FreeCAD version 0.19, revision number 19510. As I mentioned in an earlier episode, if you're going to get help on the forum, you should copy this to the clipboard and paste it in when you ask your question. It also helps to include a screenshot in your FreeCAD file. The object of today's video is to demonstrate 4 tools that we use to create solid objects from 2-dimensional or lower dimensional objects. For example, we use a triangle and a vertex to create this tetrahedron. A tetrahedron is one of the platonic solids. It has 4 sides, 4 identical sides, each being an equilateral triangle. This is sometimes called a triangular pyramid. I'm going to delete the loft object, make visible the pyramid and the point. Let's look at it from above, top angle, and from the front. Tilt slightly. The key in making all 4 sides identical is to have this point placed at the proper height above the triangle, and this is determined using this height formula, which is based on the side length, which is the square root of 3 times the radius, the circumradius, which we've set in the spreadsheet to 1 in this case. So it's the square root of 6 divided by 3 times the side length, which is square root of 3 times the circumradius. And you can see the placement of the vertex in the z direction is the height. To use the Loft tool, we click the toolbar icon. This opens the dialog. We have the available profiles on the left. We use the arrow key or double click to put them in the selected profiles box. You can also double click to remove or use the arrows. We create a solid, press OK. We can make a standard pyramid with a square bottom using a similar approach. Let's close this document. Discard changes. Create a new document. This time we can use a plane and perhaps a circle. And let's add another point as well. In our circle. So a point, a plane, and a circle went into a club. Let's move the circle up in the Z direction and over to the right and view from the top up. That's good enough. And the point, move it up. There. And now use our Loft tool. We're not limited to only 2 objects. These should be selected in order. Point, then the circle, and the vertex. Create a solid. And that does not look good, does it? It's not what I was expecting. When you have 3 objects, 3 profiles, you can get some unexpected behavior. If these were 3 circles, would not do this, but because one is a plane. So let's undo this, delete the loft. And this time we'll do it in separate sections. Vertex and circle first. That gives us our cone. And then another loft, this time a circle and the plane. And this is more like what would have been probably expected. And of course now we could fuse these together if we preferred. Let's delete this, discard changes, create a new. One more example. This time with some circles, 4 circles. Let's move this one up. Let's move this one also up. And this one also up. And let's give them some different radii. And let's apply the loft to all 4. Create solids. So this is the shape we ended up with using these 4 circles. Contrast that to using multiple lofts. And one more. Do we have have one more? No, that was it. So we can use multiple sections at once. They need not have the same number of edges. This looks something like a flying saucer. And these are parametric. Okay, now let's move on to, let's do the sweep next. Create a circle. And a helix. Set the helix radius. And the pitch. Make the circle radius 1. We should always attach the profile to the path. This helix will be the path. When we sweep a profile along a path. So we click the circle, choose the map mode, which says deactivated. Click the button here. Select the object to attach to. Okay. Now we're ready to do the sweep. Select the profile, put it in the selected profiles box. This is similar to the loft, but we need to also select the path. The path is selected in the 3D view. Click the sweep path button here. Select the path in the 3D view. We're done selecting the path. We choose our options, create solid and friend it. And we have swept the circle along the helix. The path can be any edge, could be a straight edge, could be a curve, a circle. Delete the sweep. Let's add a cube. Suppose we wanted to cut a circular furrow along the top of this cube, along this path. We can take our circle, we can map it to this edge. Okay. Open our sweep box dialog. Circle is our profile and a sweep path. This edge. Hold the control key. Select this edge with the control key down. This is Blender navigation mode on Windows. We're done. And create solid and print it. And now we have created this object which we can use as a cutting tool. Select our cube, select our sweep, and do our cut. Cube, sweep, cut. You can hide that circle. And hide the helix. that is a sweep tool. And close the document, discard changes, create a new document. Now we'll look at the extrude tool. For this one, let us use an ellipse and clear this warning. That was related to mapping earlier. For using extrude, we can pre-select our object to extrude and then click the toolbar icon. Or at the bottom, there's a shape box with the available shapes in it. We could select there too. By default, the direction to extrude is along the normal. The normal is just the direction that is perpendicular to the plane of the two-dimensional object. So this ellipse is on a single plane, and the normal to that plane is perpendicular to it. Imagine a table like where you take your dinner. The tabletop surface is a plane. If we were to stick a candle on top of the table, the candle would be pointing in the direction that is normal to the table. And if you use some hot wax to stick it to the table and tilted the table at any angle, as long as the candle does not fall off, it will be pointing in the direction that is normal to that table. So that's what the normal is. We can hit apply to do the extrude. We can also select an edge to extrude along. When I use the extrude tool, I like to use the apply button. This is a handy tip, rather than OK, because OK will close the dialog. I use apply. If I don't like what I saw, I undo, change the parameter. For example, maybe I prefer 5 millimeters, and maybe that is more what I wanted. Or perhaps I want to go in the opposite direction, down instead of up. You see that? Or I might want asymmetric extrude in both directions. In this case, 2.5 up, 2.5 down. I can choose a taper angle. It does not work all the time with every profile. Let's try it on this one. Did not work. Only a wire or face is supported. This is not a face. Let's turn off create solid option. Try this. Did not work either. Must be a wire or face. There is a tool that we can use to make a face out of this. If we wanted to taper it. Close it. We have not looked at this tool yet. It is called Advanced Utility to create shapes. Click on it. This is a handy way to create, let me clear these. This is a handy way to create shapes. We see two face options here. We see a wire option here. Let's choose wire from edges. Select the edge, create, and we'll close. Now we'll see a wire object, and let's try to taper it 5 degrees. 5 millimeters. Undo. Let's try 10 degrees. Undo. Let's try 30 degrees. We can also go negative, -5. But we must be careful that we do not come to a point. You see how it is converging to a point. We must take care not to come to a point before reaching the end, or else it will be an error. So if you try to go too much, it will fail. Let's try -10 degrees, and you see it failed. Taper shape type not supported. It just means it came to a point too quickly. If we make this 200, it might be enough. Nope. 1000. Still failing. I think it's determined to fail now after the first failure. Delete these. Okay. So the first failure kind of threw it for a loop. And to create a solid option, if you don't have it selected, it will create a shell or part of a shell, which is hollow. And we could use the advanced utility to create a face for each end, and use those faces to create a shell, and that shell to create a solid. Not going to do that today. That's a really neat tool, but it has one major limitation. This advanced utility to create shapes creates non-parametric objects. So this wire is not connected to the ellipse anymore. If we change the properties of the ellipse, the wire will not parametrically change itself. That is a major limitation. You can also select an edge for the extrude option operation. The edge will define the length, the direction. And notice it did not put it over here. It left it where it was. This defined the direction, but not the location. But sometimes can be what you want and sometimes not. If we hold the select button, it's waiting for us to select in the 3D view. And you see it extruded along the direction of our edge, but this is not a usable object. We need a different angle for that. If we tilt the cube to some angle, and extrude in that angle, and select our edge along an edge option, this will work. We can also make a custom direction. The custom direction would be the X, Y, and Z coordinates from the origin. So the origin is 0, 0, 0 coordinate. And this direction, these points, would be the end point from that origin. Not from the center of wherever you have your profile. It is from the origin. Much like when we selected the edges that were not near here, it went in that direction, but not towards there. So the direction is defined as from the origin to this point. And your profile, if it is not on the origin, will be extruded parallel to that line that you could make from the origin to these coordinates. So that's the extrude operation, extrude tool. The last one to cover is the Revolve tool. We can use this cube also for this. Let's select our ellipse, and we can select a reference point, a reference edge to revolve around. Let's try this one and see what happens. So we created this shape by revolving around this edge. Delete, do it again. Have the option to create it solid or not. We have the angle. In this case, let's try 180 degrees. Select this edge. Does not look right, does it? Usually we want our ellipse symmetric to that edge. So let's map it to this edge here. Okay. And this time we'll revolve it around this edge. Select our reference, select an edge. Not happy with that either. By default, let's get rid of these, create another object. Let's do another ellipse. By default, it revolves around the origin. This is the front view. Let's move it in the X direction. And revolve. I think we want here the Y axis. So that's the revolve tool. Let's add a line. And revolve around this line. Try that. Choose our ellipse shape as our profile. Select the reference, select the line. Okay. So those are the 4 main tools that we use, mostly with sketches. We'll start covering the Sketcher workbench a little bit later. I think I want to cover a few more things first before we get to it, because it's going to require multiple videos, and I want to cover other parts of the part workbench first. But these 4 tools are very commonly used with sketches. And the Sketcher, let's just take a quick preview of it and close this document. Create a new document. Let's go to the Sketcher workbench. create a new sketch. We'll choose the XY plane. You see when you switch, you see the blue here, the icon, how it changes, indicating which of the planes you're selecting. The XY plane would be the tabletop surface. And here we have a variety of tools that we can use to create arbitrary objects, arbitrary faces, something like that. We'll cover more in detail what I'm doing here later. And then we could go back to part, select the sketch, extrude that sketch. So the power comes in with these tools, really with sketches. And we'll cover sketches later. That's going to be it for today. This video is already over half an hour. And now we're making pretty good progress with the part workbench. And we have plenty more stuff to cover. Eventually we're going to get to the sketcher and we're going to give it proper treatment too. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. And as always, have a great day.